place things. Placement, see how I got a lot of water back there? The road in. When I designed this road in, I just said, hey, put a path and that's the direction that we're gonna go in. However, I've got some serious drainage coming from a couple different directions on my property. Just look at how I'm living. Just look at how I'm living. Taking what I'm giving. Just look at how I'm living, living. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. For those folks that are looking into, building your own homestead, and especially if it's on a rocky substrate or hills, valleys, gulches, hollows, whatever you want to call, those low-lying areas, the important thing that you need to understand is how your terrain of your land actually works. That way, when you do have these rainstorms, don't mind the black eye. Apparently, it got worse wearing my glasses the other day when I was using the excavator, but whatever. It is very important that you understand the water, where it's coming from, how it flows. That way, when you're actually doing your elevations, obviously you want some slope on a lot of things, but you need to know which way to slope. Where your natural water flows is going to be the best and easiest path of least resistance. I've worked in many different states and all kinds of different substrates and groundwater and levels and everything else. And out here, we're sitting on, rock outcrops. So there's not a lot of soil for it to absorb through. And when it gets to the rock, it has to find another route around it. So it's really made it difficult, especially making decisions on how I'm going to set up the roads, to set up where I'm putting things, because I don't want things to flood out. I don't want to get stuck on my own property on a road because there's too much water. So make sure that you're prepared. But go out in your property, do an evaluation after a rainstorm first if you need to. That way you can see where water's puddling and pooling, and then go do it while it's running. That way you can see the natural flow. Just where my camper's parked, the fifth wheel's parked right here, there's natural flow that allows water to pool up quite a bit. And you can't see it right now. Let's see when you open the window. But I got water right there, a lot of it. And that water is going to create problems in the future, especially when I want to get out of my trailer. That's not where it's going to sit forever, but water sits right there. So my grading needs to, have some shape taken on it. I didn't use any grade rod when I did it, and I didn't have anybody, or Donnie, when he actually put the rock down. He just used his backhoe and spread it for me. Wherever it fell, it fell. So make sure you get out and you walk around your property. Take a minute to take evaluation, take notes, take a video. That way you know where you're walking back through, and look in those areas that you want things to sit in, whether it's a garden or it's your septic, leach fields, whatever it might be, your water lines where you can actually get to those the easiest to put them in the ground, underground water, power, all kinds of things that, make sense to look for, even simple things. So get out there, look at your property before a storm, after a storm, and then possibly during a storm. That way you can see the natural flow of the water if you can't just set up a game camera or a camera of some sorts to record the activities. But just make sure you do that. That way you can set up your homestead the easiest, most effective if you're on a hill or any type of hilly terrains. I did push some of the rock to gravel because there's some water puddling out here. Water puddling on my drive. You can see it right there. It's been puddling like that, and primarily the reason is because I didn't set any grade when I did my driveways. Everything's kind of just sitting on the general slope that it was. I tried to get it as flat as possible, or at least I had Donnie try to get as flat as possible without breaking out any type of laser equipment, measuring equipment, elevation, taking elevations, doing a grade rod or anything. We didn't do that. It's just on the ground. But I do have to do some work on it, and a lot of it's because the ground is just so, it's saturated, it's full of water. So here are 3 recommendations for you when you're actually setting up your homestead prior to doing any of your work on the homestead for placement of anything. Numero uno, get out there while the first storm is happening. If you're capable of doing that, watch how the water flows. You're going to see where it naturally flows before you put down any roads, before you put down any blockages in any paths. So you don't want to put, let's just say, a road in a general, flow pattern that where the water's going to go. And if you haven't spent a lot of money on an engineer, which you don't need to, because you can use your own 2 eyes, even if they're black, to get out there and you can look at it. You can see where the natural flow of the water is. And I'll show you that, guys, right here, so you can see how my flow is going. So as you can see right there, I've got this puddling going on, and it flows towards the campfire over there, and then it follows a path down to the natural stream. So I actually created a channel right there, or hopefully a little bit of a channel, and it's drained quite a bit. I didn't go down deep enough. I was just messing around with the excavator, making sure the thumb works. It does. We're gonna leave it up and see if it falls. If it falls, then there's a leak. But that way, get out here, take a look at it. I've got water built up back here. I know why. There's no drain path underneath the trailer. That's just because there's a hole right there. I need to fill in. You would dig some dirt. But you'll be able to see your natural flow path. That's very important. That's number 1. Number 2, get out there during a storm, or set up some cameras if you can, or multiple cameras different cameras during multiple storms, and place those where you plan to go in the future. So we've got some roads out here, which I'm going to show you here later in the video, that I'm actually going to walk through. So that way I can see where the water flows. So that way when I start to build my roads, I'll know the path of the water. And I've been out here, during and after rainstorms on several dozen occasions already. So I know the general path. I know I have some ponding, which I need to take care of as well, farther down in the property, lower lying areas, that I'm going to need to cut in some paths for drainage. Those paths of drainage are going to help us out tremendously later on when we start to put down our walking paths, our roads. So that way we don't have to deal with a bunch of muddy roads and or muddy walking paths. The flow will actually work pretty good. It's not just about setting your grade or your elevation. It's about knowing where the natural water flows and if you need to redirect it. On to now we're at number 3. Number 3 is knowing where to place things. Placement. See how I got a lot of water back there? The road in. When I designed this road in, I just said, hey, put a path, and that's the direction that we're going to go in. However, I've got some serious drainage coming from a couple different directions on my property. I am downhill from other property, so I have some water buildup. As you can see, county goes by and they get their road clear. They push, and there's an actual drainage ditch right here that kind of flows. But the flow of water from right around where that big tree is right there comes this direction, which leads right through my driveway. When you got water going through your driveway, it needs to flow somewhere. The county or the city came out, put my water in, my city water supply for backup, and they kind of didn't do a very good job of keeping this trench open. So I need to come over here and fix this with the excavator when I get a chance, least of my concerns, because the county will do it for me, hopefully. But knowing where that water drains. So I know that all this water that's building up comes from uphill that direction, comes from behind us. The lowest point on this road, just by visually checking it out and watching the path and the patterns, takes me down to my natural pond. Right here, you can see already how much water has eroded this, and it's flowing. So when you've got flow going, you're gonna see where your water is. Otherwise, you'll just see ponding if you check after the storm. You won't know what direction it's going. I mean, And here's a kicker for you to show you an example of that. Here's some ponding. You can't really see, it's really clear. But it builds up on the side of the road because it can't pass the crown of the road. That road is curved this way and then curved that way, so it curves over like a hump. That keeps the water off of it. You'll notice that when you're driving too, down any road, it slopes one direction or the other, depending on what lane you're in or how many lanes they're in. So back onto the placement, you can see right here that a lot of that water is being restrained. However, we've got an open patch that allows water to come down pretty good. We're gonna get some grass in here, but this is just gonna be a grass / dirt playground area. I'm gonna try to level out for Liv, and obviously I need more dirt. But all that water still has to go underground. And if you're looking that way, it starts to outfeed right there. That's one of the biggest reasons that I have all this ponding and everything. It's outfeeding right there on top, and then this gravel has allowed it just to push across the top, sheet across it, which is good, but it's also bad. So placing the fifth wheel here, I need to put a French drain in down here. Otherwise I'm gonna start catching catfish and stuff in here. If I start catching catfish, it'll be a problem. So now here's one of my areas that I'm going to be putting one of the temporary garden areas up in. And I'm leaving this open, or I just had it mulched because I'm going to be putting in my septic field right in here, or at least that's the idea. So my flow coming out of this driveway has a bigger hump. Harder to get in. We're all downhill. As you can see from this right here, the slope, that's going to keep the water needing to go down the road there. If I don't have it going down the road, it's going to sheet right across everything over here, and my garden's going to get flooded out. Let me walk you down here a little bit where there's some uncovered ground, and you'll see what I mean about the flow. Even though I've got all this covered ground crop, or not crop, but ground cover down, you still see how the water has washed the leaves away, and so it's making those paths that it wants to naturally travel. So in order to get rid of serious ponding, or your flow, such as here's my downstream right now, I'll show you. This is how much water is coming off the top of this mountain hill. So all the water from up there is following this path of least resistance from there all the way back in there and down. So what I've done is I've covered up the natural flow that was right here with these logs, which I'll be moving shortly. I just needed to place them somewhere. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna create this natural slope from the front of the back of the trailer, and we're going to take it that way across, which is going to pump it across the over that way towards the excavator, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to bring it over down this way, because I don't really need to drive through this area over here on that little road too much. But we'll put in some sort of irrigation at some point in time. Not irrigation, but some sort of water management to get rid of that. By no means am I an expert. Just use some common sense, and everything flows like water. Electricity, everything flows. So just use your two peepers there. Get out on your property, take a look at what direction everything goes, and then you can fix any problems that you run into before you put any rock down or anything else. And the biggest thing, don't be in such a hurry to get everything down until you're really ready. Not like me. Yeah. So let's get rid of this water. We're gonna put down some culverts. We're gonna put down some drainage tiles. And here's one for you. When you think of drainage tiles, if you're not familiar, go look it up. It's not really a tile, not like a house tile. It's actually a pipe, corrugated usually, and or has a bunch of holes in it and whatnot. Bugs, where do they come from? But yeah, go ahead and take a look for that one. We'll catch you on the next one. Please hit that like and subscribe. If there's anything that, you know, I can help anybody else with, I'm more than happy. Shoot us an email, shoot us a snail mail. The P.O. box is down in the about, I think, or I don't know, something. Take a look at it, leave a comment. Thanks, guys.